and welcome back. This week we are doing something a little exciting and maybe a little bit cute. We are going to be embedding some Lego in a scene. So I have prepped already the items that we need today, and I have a silicone mold that I have in a support frame. And the reason it's in a support frame is that when you are pouring a full silicone mold, the resin can sometimes warp the sides of it. So having the little timber support is an excellent idea because it keeps your piece in shape. I have a little piece of olive wood timber, and I have pre-sealed this with Resi Clear just so I don't have too much of the oxygen seeping out of my timber. And with the framing and the preparation of this timber and sealing up, you can refer back to our other YouTube clips on those processes. So please, if you have more questions about that, make sure you go there and have a look and ask away. I have a selection of little Lego pieces. So the aim for today is to sort of set them in a little bit of a scene, and how I'm going to do that is with our Resi Ultra Cure. So it's a UV curable resin, and how that's cured is a UV blacklight torch, or I have a UV blacklight nail lamp here. So sometimes when you've got a piece that you want to sit for a little while, the UV lamp is a better option if you want to continue doing a little bit of work without having to hold your torch on your resin. I have mixed up a bunch of deep cast. Now, you can refer to our mixing video if you'd like more details on that, but I have mixed up a quantity which is close to 1 litre. I have also tinted it with 2 drops of our Resi Jet Black translucent dye. And I like to do that just so I counteract the tiniest bit of potential yellowing, and it gives my deep cast pieces a little bit more clarity. So, we're going to get started. The first process of today is I want to basically tack my Lego pieces to my piece of olive wood, and how I'm doing that is with the UV Ultra Cure, so Resi's Ultra Cure. And I have a little bit of an idea in mind, so I'm going to start with what will be my little man who's climbing the mountain. I'm going to have him hanging basically off the cliff. So what I want to do with my UV resin is have his little tool and tack that to the side of the timber, so I can basically have a scene where it looks like he's hanging. Now when we're using our UV, I like to basically use a small portion on the item itself and on the item I want to tack it to. And I dribble that on between the two, and then I ever so quickly get my UV torch onto it so it doesn't dribble down, and I will hold that in position. Now when you're using your UV Ultra Cure resin, usually you want to hold your torch on it or use your UV blacklight nail lamp on it for a good sort of 30 seconds before it'll actually tack off. But then to get a full cure on it, you can be putting your lamp on it for about up to 5 minutes. So at the moment, my little Lego man is tacked on, but I do want to make sure that I have a proper cure on him. So I'm just going to hold my torch on it for a little bit longer. And one way to check if it is cured or not, sometimes you can actually touch where you've popped your UV resin down, and if it's quite tacky, then you know it still needs a cure time, more cure time. I'm quite happy with how he's tacked on there. So there's scene 1. Our guy who's going to be hanging off of our mountain here with his little climbing pick. Now I think I'm going to attach our little Lego tree next. And I'm going to attach it in this flat spot here because of the size of the base of the Lego tree. So what I'm going to aim to do is dribble my UV resin down the backside where it will be having contact with the timber, and get my torch straight in there. One thing to note when you're using UV curing resin too is to ensure that the area that you're curing is accessible by light. If you have it trapped under an object, for instance in between the timber and like the base of a larger piece, that resin won't actually cure. So that's why I like to tack it off on an edge on the outside of an item that I'm sticking to the base object, because I know that my UV light will reach that little bit of resin and it will cure off. Let's see if I can pop this one under the nail lamp. Just trying to get it to make sure it has a little bit of a bond, because I can't put it flat against the edge of the timber. It's not wanting to stick on there very well. You only need to use a minimal amount of UV resin when sort of tacking off, because you run the risk of having it dribble underneath the piece and not have it sort of cured properly. So I do only use minimal amounts and tack it in small areas to secure my pieces. So I'm happy that that one's tacked off a little bit more, but I do, now that I don't have to hold it, do want to put a tiny bit more just to make sure that that's secured. And the reason I am actually securing them to my timber here is because if I was just to place them and then we put them in our mould and we pour with our deep cast, there's a really good chance that these will just float around and move around and won't stay in position. And because the deep cast takes that 7 to 10 days to cure, we want to make sure that our pieces are held in position correctly during that time frame. So we're almost complete. We've got our rock climber, our hiker with his dog, tree man, little squirrel. So I'm going to pop on another couple of little squirrels and branches, and then we'll pop it in our mould ready to pour. One little last thing, as I've tacked on all my Lego pieces, I've noticed one of my cracks hasn't sealed up properly in my timber, so I am just going to drizzle a little bit of the UV Ultra Cure into these cracks, and as I'm using the UV blacklight on it, that'll cure that up, just so it avoids any bubbles wanting to come out of those fine little gaps. Just a little tip with regards to using your UV Cure resin. With basically using it while you're tacking down with your lights on it, sometimes you'll get hardened resin sit on the outside of your bottle. It's really important to just pick that off and remove that, because otherwise it'll end up blocking your nozzle. And although it's quite difficult to do with gloves on, it can be done, and you just pick it off. And that way it keeps your bottle nice and clean, so you can make sure you secure your cap correctly. It is in a dark bottle for a reason too, because you want to ensure that no UV light can penetrate the resin. If that happens over time, it means your resin will cure. So you keep it in a dark, cool spot, and make sure you keep it secure with the lid on as well. So our little Lego scene is complete. I'm really happy with the storyline that we've got going on here. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to sit it in my silicone mould, which I've previously cleaned out with some pure isopropyl, so I've got no little bits of dust and dirt in it. I'm going to position it, and then we'll be pouring our deep cast on it. Now, just one thing to note, as I am using deep cast, I did pre-mix this and have this sitting here the entire time while I was tacking off my little Lego pieces and keeping them in position. Deep cast has a pot life of up to 2 hours, so you do have a little bit of working time with it. So we're ready to pour. This is the exciting part. Now what I also might do, and I'll just grab another one, I'll grab another of my acrylic stirrers, and I'm just going to layer my resin down. Instead of just pouring it in, I'll layer it in smoothly to introduce less bubbles to my mixture. One thing I must note too is if you are using lighter objects and they have the potential to float in a scene like this, then you may want to do a really, really fine layer of resin on the bottom, just a mil deep, just to secure your timber or your object down, and then pour up around it. But I'm confident with the weight of this little bit of timber that it won't float around on me. And I'm just pouring ever so slowly because I do want it to seep in all the little bits of Lego that could potentially have air trapped inside of them. So So I'm hoping it'll slowly fill in around those. How cool does that look? So I've got a couple of little bubbles escaping from my Lego pieces, but I'm going to leave them there. I'm not going to use isopropyl or methylated spirits on the top of the deep cast. It does tend to leave a bit of a skin. It sort of reacts with the deep cast in particular, so I never use that to break surface tension and pop the bubbles. I am expecting most of the bubbles to just release naturally, because that's the beauty of the deep cast. Its bubble dispersion is absolutely amazing. And if not, I will potentially come back at the end of the day today and go over it with a heat torch, but I don't think that that'll be necessary. I think we've eliminated a fair few bubbles, and those that might still seep out of the mixture are going to be quite big, and they'll come straight to the surface. Like this one just come up here from the inside of the mask with our tree man. So I think a few are going to sort of want to seep out of that guy, but I can guarantee you they'll pretty much pop by themselves. So the next step with this is I'm going to let this sit in position for 7 to 10 days, and at that point I'll come and test it. I do like what's called, simple term is a fingernail test. If I can pop my fingernail in a small sort of edge of the resin and I don't have an indentation, then I know that my resin has fully cured and I'm able to demold that. So in 7 to 10 days I'll come and check on it, and then we'll be back to demold it. So welcome back, guys. It has now been approximately 10 days since we poured our deep cast Lego mold here. So we are going to demold. This is the exciting part. So I'm just going to remove the outer frame first, which was supporting my silicone mold. And then we can start removing. Let's work our mold off. And the reveal. That looks cool. So after having it in a silicone mold, you don't really need to do a lot of finish prep for deep cast pieces like this. It does have a really slight sharp lip here on the top edge. So I'm just going to take a little bit of sandpaper here. It's just 320 grit, and I'm going to just move that along that top edge just to remove that slight sharp feeling, but I'm not going to touch the surface or the sides of my block of deep cast here. So just that way, when I'm handling it and moving it around, I won't cut myself. So I'll just take off that sharp lip. As I'm just only taking off the sharp lip, I'm not affecting my top or my sides by scratching it up. So ultimately, this product, after I've just taken the sharp lip off of it, is actually ready to go. So you don't need any final coats on it. You don't have to do a dome over coat if you don't want to. That's the beauty of using a silicone mold and something like the deep cast. So I'll just take this little lip off and give it a clean up. Perfect. Take all the dust off. And we have our finished Lego scene. So it's complete. I'm really happy with the outcome of this one, actually, because all my little figurines stayed in position, and I've got a really cool display piece now. Okay guys, that's it for our Lego deep cast scene. If you do have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.